2 years ago, we did a video on the Benchmade Protagonist, and I told you that I couldn't keep my hands off of it. Well, I recently picked up the Hogue EXF02, terrible name, but I picked it up because it's so similar to the Protagonist. It's right there in that same vein of being like a utility combat, you know, really compact knife that like military law enforcement would initially gravitate to. I think that these style of lightweight knives definitely gravitate to a lot of backpackers and through hikers and people who really count their ounces because of how lightweight they are. But both of these are made in the US. Both of these are going to come in between like 130 and 140 bucks. Both are made with 154 cm steel. Both come with modular, you know, sheaths. So they have so much going for them, and they both have such similar profiles and just concept. So I want to run them head to head today. So let's go ahead, see what these two knives have to offer, which one I would prefer. Yeah, super. So as we hit it off with the blades, as I have said, USA made, 154 cm, rockin'. So, and the same similar price points within $10 of each other. We'll have links in the description below over to Amazon. When you guys use those hyperlinks, really helps me get out there, buy gear just like these two that you've seen, so I can give you guys these full comprehensive videos. So again, Amazon and Blade HQ links below. Thank you guys for your continued support for the channel. And also there will be Tanto versions of both of these. I don't think they offer a serrated version as of yet with the Hogue. I know they do have a Tanto and drop point serrated version with the Benchmade. So lots of options, lots of color combinations on the Hogue. So that's that. What we're looking at here is basically, again, being more combat style, self-defense, you know, utility knives is what they're designed for, but again, lots of outdoor people love them. And what we're looking at here when we look at the thickness is going to be a thinner blade on the Benchmade, which would be 0.12, so an eighth of an inch thick, and then back here at the stock on the Hogue, you're looking at 0.15, so a little bit thicker there on the Hogue. And then you're looking about the same cutting edges, which is right around about 4.3 on the actual cutting edge. The Hogue actually has a slightly longer blade just because of the design. It has a little bit larger ricasso back here, but you're still pretty close to the blade on both of these knives, which is a big plus. Great relief edges. Both have saber grinds. Both have like clip points here. The Hogue will actually have a slightly sharper clip than on the Benchmade. The Benchmade doesn't have quite as sharp a clip. So the main crux of it is this. If you are looking to stab bad guys, then the Benchmade is going to be the slightly better tool just because it is a thinner overall profile of the blade thickness, as well as height being about 1 inch thick, whereas being the slightly thicker stock and then being about 1 inch, 0.2, so just a little bit thicker on the from spine to edge on the Hogue. But if you're wanting to do most other tasks, you're gonna find that the Hogue's blade profile is better because it has a higher grind, higher saber grind. Even though it's thicker, the matching geometry just works better, particularly for woods craft of any kind. If you're out in the woods and you're camping, you're backpacking, you're carving to make a feather stick, maybe do a couple notches, you're going through heavier material, it's just a better tool. It's not as much of a dagger. The protagonist is designed more as a dagger and still can do plenty of utility tasks. I'm not saying it's a bad knife by any means, but when you run it up against the wider profile blade from spine to edge of the Hogue, you're just going to get more performance out of it. It has a much bigger belly, so it's going to be better at slicing and food prep than your protagonist would be. So if you are somebody who is looking more for general utility tasks, either out in the woods or around the home, property, bug out bag, survival kit, you're actually going to get an overall better performance on the Hogue. The Benchmade will still outperform it in stabbing and penetrating, but the Hogue is very close in that as well. And so that's really, for me, one of the main parts that I saw was when I put these two head to head, I was just happier with my overall performance of the Hogue than on the Benchmade because of the grind angle. Everything else is the same. Edge retention is great. It's very rust resistant, so these would be great like water knives if you're out on boating, that type of thing. The 154 cm is very rust resistant and very good for those type of environments. Food prep, again, you don't have to worry about rust as much as like with a high carbon blade, and just really good in that regard, and pretty easy to resharpen. It's a stainless steel, so it's not as easy as say 1095 or 5160, but it is good and it's pretty easy as long as you have a good sharpening kit to get that edge back on the blades when they do dull. So next up on the docket is the handles, and that's a major difference between the two. Now these are both full tang. One is an exposed tang, being the Benchmade. One is an enclosed tang, being the Hogue. So what you're going to find is that the handle scales are exactly the same, or the handles are the same length at about 4.6 on the overall handle length. Large size hands, just so you can see there, fills out my hand on both these guys. The difference is that you can see the Hogue handle is much just rounder and thicker and fuller. So it's going to be a much better knife for all around purpose use. You're going to be able to, it's going to fill out your hand more so than on the Benchmade. The Benchmade is slimmer, more concealable, but for extended cutting tasks, the Hogue is a much better option. The Benchmade, you know, use it for 3-4 minutes, totally fine, which when I originally did the video, I mean, that's what I said it would be for. You know, I said this was not a bushcraft knife, it's just a general purpose tool, and it still is, but compared to the Hogue is much better, because the Hogue, you're looking at, I believe it's 1.3 inches from top to bottom, you're looking at like 0.9 on the Benchmade, and then you're looking at a thickness of 0.52 on the Benchmade, and then you're looking at a thickness back here with the palm swell of like 0.67, so definitely significantly larger. Warmer to the touch because there's no exposed metal there. There's only a rubberized piece here, and then this is like a hardened plastic. This is all rubberized, so it's technically a little bit more durable, if you will. I know, just a little bit better, you know, angles on it, rounded, and again, just way fuller. The jimping is squared off. It's not sharp anywhere on it, so I can either get up here on the Hogue and do finer cutting tasks. And the guard here is nice and rounded and just fills out your hand really well with that jimping, whereas the guard is exposed here on the Benchmade, and the jimping is sharper, so you would feel it more with a stabbing motion, and it would just be biting into your hand right here. You could, you know, machine that and round that off and be a little more comfortable, but that exposed guard is also something that I noticed compared to the Hogue, where the Hogue, you're just going to get that bigger, better feeling in your hand, which I really like. You're going to have 2 lanyard holes on the Hogue. You're going to get that 1 lanyard hole back here, and then there's a 3rd lanyard hole up here on the Hogue, so you could lash this to a spear if you wanted to do something like that. But handle ergonomics, obviously the Hogue is a little bit fatter, so it wouldn't be as concealable, but as long as you're not worried about that, the Hogue will have more ergonomics and is just as strong for the type of task you'd be doing as the exposed tang on the Benchmade. All right, we're gonna look at the sheath options. I'll tell you, I'm not as big a fan of the Hogue option as the Benchmade option. So what we're looking at is polymer on both of these guys. This one has a lot of lashing points. You flip it over. There are some nylon PALS webbing compatible stuff, so you can either put it on your belt or on your molly gear. So that's a nice feature to have. It would be flush with the handle, which is also nice if you belt carry. Really rather quiet compared to a lot of knives out there. It is ambidextrous, but there's this little lever system that you have to use. So you push on this little lever, it disengages the knife, and then you pull it out, and then you can put it opposite and snap it back in, and then there's another lever you disengage. So it's this little tab right here fitting inside the handle. So I mean, it's unique, it's kind of cool, and it's very secure, but it's just kind of annoying to me. You got that nice, you know, you got that snap, and then you got to like push and pull. It's just not quite my taste. It's okay, and maybe some of you totally love it. For me, I just kind of prefer natural, which, and this is more concealable. So if you're looking more, again, for like tactical, you know, self-defense, that type of thing. Very slim profile, much slimmer than the Hogue. It's going to come with a Blade Tech Molly tab, or I believe that's Blade Tech, anyway, Molly tab. Then it is Blade Tech lock compatible, drainage hole in this guy as well. It also comes with a nylon backing, so if you want to carry it belt style, it also has that. Then it has a secondary retention point that is ambidextrous, this little elastic snap here. You can totally remove it if you don't want to use it or not. There's a screw retention right here, so you can tighten it down for tighter retention, loosen it up, and then a good little thumb ramp, boom, you pull the knife out. So I don't know, it's a little bit quicker deploying if you don't use the little tab. So if you need that, this would not be as fast to deploy. So just things to consider, things to think about with these two designs. Well, my buddy Brian and I, when we originally had purchased these, totally fell in love with them. Awesome, they went with us all the time. Brian still takes it with him all the time. But the rub for me is the handle ergonomics. Compared to what the Hogue has to offer, it's just a little too thin and a little too narrow compared to what the Hogue has to offer. For me, again, being an outdoorsman, not looking at this from a utility, combat, tactical blade, this with the fuller, wider handle and the higher, wider blade profile just makes it a better woods knife overall for me and how I use my blades. But if we were talking about purely combat utility, I think the Benchmade would still be the better knife for you because it will have slightly heavier traction. It is a thinner profiled blade, so it'll penetrate better, and it has more modularity with the sheath options. So the winner for you really needs to be dictated on how you're gonna use the knife. If you're more of law enforcement or military, self-defense, go with the Benchmade. If you're more of outdoors, wilderness, camping, backpacking, go with the Hogue. So thank you so much for coming over here today and checking out the channel. I really hope this video has helped you out. Decide which of these two knives is the right tool for you. So check us out on all the relevant social media as well. It's a great way to see what's up and coming, projects we're working on. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. If you're not a current subscriber of Gideon's Tactical, I'd invite you to become part of our YouTube family and all the different videos that we throw up every single week here at the channel and making us and our channel part of your regular YouTube experience. Finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.